You're listening to Real Crime, the Movie Sleuth podcast.
Only if you are a brilliant person.
Yes.
Because this right here, the Real Crime podcast, is some of the finest theater
Ever known to man.
Ever known to man. Yes, this is episode 64 of the Real Crime podcast.
Wow.
Full house tonight. Beautiful people in the house.
It's an orgy.
Sweet. Yeah, it's going to be just like a friggin' pile of flesh after the show. It's going to be awesome, dude. I just hands grabbing random things. Just doesn't matter. Mr. Chris George is in the studio here.
Hi.
Or Christina George. What the hell was that?
Hi.
Hi. The lovely Michelle over in the corner.
Hello.
Hello. And the lovely Mr. Chris Jordan sitting next to me here in total boob grab reach. Looking forward to the rest of the show here, Chris. I hope you are too.
Of course, always.
And we have a very interesting night ahead of us. It's been a little while. We're sorry about that, but life comes into play here sometimes.
Sometimes it's better to make them wait a little while.
Yeah, we make them salivate.
Yeah,
Yep.
actually, we're not sorry. So
Yeah, we're not. This is a part of our complete corporate plan. This has been discussed in many meetings about our business model and how we're going to get maximum downloads on every
Sorry,
podcast.
not sorry.
You're giving it away. It doesn't
I'm
sound
totally giving
organic
it away.
anymore.
I don't. It's going to be a total
The
fake
magic is
show.
gone.
You are a fake podcast. That's all we are.
Oh.
A total fake podcast. So, we're going to discuss a few things here of why we weren't here. Some of the reasons we've been absent. However, Chris, man, you look all right this week.
I feel okay, I guess.
Well, I'm
I'm kind of beat up.
I think you may have been kicked so hard in the nuts, your voice is a little higher.
Yes,
this
it
week.
is.
Yeah, so that means you've been out looking for the news this week, big time. So what do we have this week in the news?
Not really much going on in the news this week. Luc Besson has set his next film, Anna. It's going to star Helen Mirren and Luke Evans. Blade Runner 2049 topped the box office with $31 million, which, people are obviously bashing, saying it's a flop.
Yeah.
But it's really not a flop if you're number one.
Yeah.
It kind of this weird, push-pull thing people are doing. Movie's amazing, but it was a flop.
Okay, so Wonder Woman. Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, no, it was, the original Blade Runner was a flop. I've
Yes.
talked to people who were there seeing it on opening day in, empty theaters and shit. No, this did just fine. It just did not spectacularly.
It didn't meet the expectation of, it's going to make $60 million domestically, because most films need to make, about a third of their total budget in opening weekend. So I know where they're coming from, but
Yeah.
a flop would be if it made what Valerian made.
yeah.
Valerian
Yeah.
made $12 million opening weekend. If that had happened, then I'd be okay, I can understand the flop talk, but this is in no way a flop. And hopefully, you had posted yesterday on Assbook, that maybe the foreign box office will really help balance us out a lot.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
'cause
open
it's
in
doing
Japan
it.
for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it's going to do super well in
Yeah.
Japan, for sure.
Well, is it possible that this film, Blade Runner 2049, is being compared to other openings over the summer too? Because what?
It's like
Wonder
the
Woman,
Marvel effect.
It.
Oh well, it was a
okay.
weird
Yeah,
out
it
here
has a-
thing.
Yeah, that's
It-
a real
or Wonder
unusual-
Woman, right? I mean,
Yeah.
those movies made piles of money, right? Are they perhaps being? Is this film perhaps being compared to that as far as just putting them up next to each other?
Even the studio came out today and said, we kind of overestimate it. They thought that Blade Runner 2049 was going to have this large audience like Star Wars or...
I don't know why they thought that.
No,
They're
it
dumb.
Right.
don't
They
have
said
that,
they misrepresented what they thought it was going to make. So
Yeah.
even they're saying, hey, you know what? We screwed up.
Mhm.
We screwed up.
yeah.
So
All right.
no
Yeah.
apologies. Just it is what it is. And I mean, realistically, it only needs to make $185 million total to recoup its budget, and marketing is included in that. So realistically, with the foreign markets, U.S. market, and eventual Blu-ray and DVD sales,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
going to make its money back.
Oh yeah, because this is the sort of movie that is going to sell really, really well on Blu-ray.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the people who love this movie really love this movie. It's
Yeah,
gonna,
and they're
it's
gonna
gonna
want
do well. Yeah.
Well, more on that later.
Yes. Gillian Anderson is set to retire from the X-Files after season 11.
What a bummer.
She has said this before. A lot of people pointed that out to me after I made my post yesterday. Oh, man, I got railed over that post by people yesterday.
Ooh.
It got kind of nasty, actually. So I did not engage.
That is good.
Yep.
Don't engage.
Yeah, do not
engage.
What were they mad about?
I had some guy literally, he cyber stalked me yesterday because of my post.
Why?
I posted it on the X-Files board, and he's like, fake news. This is fake. You're an amateur. Your site is posting fake news, blah, 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 blah. There are no quotes here. I don't know why you're posting this. I'm like, actually, I posted like several quotes. The entire thing is a quote from her. And then he kept following me, and he actually started private messaging me on Facebook.
Holy shit.
And then followed me to our page and started harassing us on our page, and he was like saying all kinds of crazy shit. So
What the
eventually
hell?
I was like, delete, block, you're done.
What's his name?
I'm not going to say that here.
Poon Smasher 37.
Yes.
Poon Smasher 37 is not happy with the movie.
I think the problem is maybe he's never smashed any poon. So
Anti-Poon Smasher.
So she's saying that she's going to retire playing the character after this next event series.
Hope this next season doesn't just like fuck around and waste a bunch of time and
like the
end in
last
an
one?
unsatisfying way.
In other news, we're getting Last Jedi trailer tonight, which is kind of exciting for Star Wars fans. Michelle doesn't care at all.
I don't.
There's an argument.
My boyfriend bought us tickets already to go see it.
Why do people buy these tickets early? It's not
Because
like it's going to be sold out.
Well, the last time he tried to buy them, they almost were sold out, and he would have to wait till the next day to see it.
We bought our tickets early for Blade Runner.
Yeah, no.
Going to a movie is like going to a concert now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know, you just don't walk into a thing and say, I'm going to see a flick.
I got movie
I'm going to take
pass.
my lady to see a
Yeah.
flick and have some popcorn.
Maybe I'll order them early. I don't know. Last time I got them early
well.
for The Force Awakens, and like we could have just walked in and bought tickets that day. So
Yeah. I haven't had a problem getting into any of the Star Wars films. We just kind of, we haven't bought that far ahead. Well, you know, it isn't that far ahead, Michelle.
It's December, right?
Yeah, it's only a couple months.
He said December 18th.
So it really isn't that far ahead.
No.
I did that with I won't lie. I did that with Alien Covenant. I bought that like 3 months ahead. I really did. So yeah, all right, makes sense.
And last bit of news: Harvey Weinstein has been fired because he's a fucking pig.
All right.
Wait,
That
What?
all went down.
Harvey
pretty-
Weinstein
I-
has been fired from his own
but
company.
wait, melodramatic effect here.
Oh, sorry.
What?
Oh,
Are
my
you kidding
goodness.
me? Harvey Weinstein is a pig?
Yes.
Who would have thunk it? Moving along.
Moving along. That's all the news I got. In new releases this week, we've got Happy Death Day, which I'm seeing at a screening tomorrow night. We've got The Foreigner, which Michelle is seeing at a screening on Wednesday night. And Marshall, which Andrew is seeing at a screening Wednesday night. So I'll have reviews of all three of those. And then Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman is opening this week
I
also.
really wanted to see that. That looks really interesting.
It does. It does. So on to suggested viewings.
Chris, you lead off, please.
I will lead this off. The first one I'm going to mention is one that me and Michelle saw at the Atlanta Sci-Fi Film Festival called The Beyond. I liked it more than Michelle, but it was still a really, really cool sci-fi movie. We had seen a short from the same director last year when we were in Atlanta, and from his short, he was actually given a full budget to turn his short into a full-length feature. So he went from 14 minutes to like 92 minutes. So that was really cool. And then I'm going to throw another one out there too.
Fucking airtime hog. Go.
Gerald's Game on Netflix is fucking awesome. I loved it.
Yeah,
another
sounds really
good
good.
Stephen King adaptation this year.
Outstanding.
So,
Yeah.
Cool.
Michelle, what you got, yo?
I've been watching a lot of horror movies, and I'm going to recommend. This is an old one. I got the Arrow video release for Children of the Corn,
Ooh.
and I hadn't seen that in a really long time. Maybe
Outlander.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Outlander, we have your woman.
That was the same kid that the redheaded kid. I forgot his name. I've looked his name up before too.
He was like in everything for a
while. He was in Colors.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it the guy that played Malachi?
Yeah. No, it wasn't.
No,
it wasn't,
no, the redhead
the
kid.
redheaded
Oh,
kid,
yeah, it's Malachi.
It was
Yeah.
Malachi.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was also in Colors too. Little trivia there for you. Yeah, fantastic flick, dude. Holy
Yeah,
crap.
it's
Awesome.
fun. And the Arrow videos release is really good. Got a lot of extras on it, and It's a really good transfer. They kept in a lot of the film grain, which I like.
Yes.
Sweet.
Looks really good. And I got it for $13 because Amazon accidentally changed the price while I had it pre-ordered. And
Nice.
once they lower a price on Amazon, they can't raise it back up
Yup,
if you have it
they
pre-ordered.
have to honor it.
So thanks to their fuck up, I profited.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, fuck corporations.
With the Amazon factor, because my better half has Amazon Prime, so the ordering has like gotten really intense at my compound, and like every day there's shit on the porch, and it's like, I guess this is like the future.
Because
like, this
Christmas is
what's-
coming too.
Well, yeah, but like I'm hearing people more. The whole Amazon thing is like really jumping up now. Just the volume, I guess, and everybody's like, oh yeah, it's like Christmas all year round. I'm like, oh yeah.
If you spend a shitload of money,
yeah.
So
it's dangerous.
The thing with Amazon also is if you collect films, I've been noticing every once in a while, depending on if you pre-order certain stuff, if there's a limited amount, they'll let you pre-order, but they won't have enough to cover it, and then they'll just like cancel your order. And that's been happening
really?
a lot with people that want limited edition things.
Yep.
So sometimes if it's like kind of squirrely, I'll go to another website to order to make sure I get it.
Don't pre-order on Amazon.
That's
can be a
what
really
happened at
bad idea.
Rawhead Rex.
Really?
I had it pre-ordered on there, and then they're like, I'm not getting my order till November because I don't know. They just didn't have
Mine's
enough.
still scheduled.
Yeah,
for delivery.
Mine's not. It hasn't shipped yet. But other people that went through Diabolique, I can never say that right. They already got theirs like 2 weeks ago. I was like, hey.
I ordered an audiobook a month and a half ago.
You didn't get it?
Didn't get it. So I actually followed it up finally. So I'm like, okay, what the hell? This is like, it wasn't through Prime. But, I'm like, it's just a little audiobook. It's nothing major. So I actually reached out to the vendor and said, hey, I haven't received this yet. Well, here's your tracking number. It's going to be coming soon. I'm like, well, yeah, but I ordered it a fucking month ago, dude.
What the hell did they ship it? Like horseback?
Yeah. So long
Carrier
story
pigeon?
short, I ended up spending 2.5 hours. Now, mind you, I spent $9.92 on this audiobook. I spent 2.5 hours, literally went through 11 different people at the post offices here in Michigan and in Cleveland, Ohio. And I finally got to the point of like, look, we never got it. This tells us here is it fell into a black hole. It just kind of went away. I'm like, we never got it. I'm like, fine. And I'm like, by that time I was so freaking steaming pissed off that I just emailed the guy back and said, dude, here's the deal. I just spent all this time trying to figure this thing out that you should have had straightened out. Give me my money back. And he did. There was no arguing. I mean, it was cool. So I didn't have to go nuclear on anybody, but that kind of was like, okay, because I was like, before I was like, oh, this is pretty sweet. I can just order them. Fuck all that shit. I'm going to go to the store. Anyway, sorry, Chris.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Support your independent stores.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think I'm going to start. I do that anyways, but yeah, whatever. So that's my turn off with that too. Chris Jordan, what's your suggested viewing, kind sir?
So this is one that I'd kind of recommend, but I'm also curious to hear what you guys all think of it. I actually, just before I came over here, I finally watched Halloween 3 for the first time that I'd never seen.
Is that Season of the Witch?
Season of the Witch, yeah. And it has some problems. It definitely has some problems, but I enjoyed it more than I thought I might. Like,
all right,
it was a fun flick, and you can feel a certain amount of John Carpenter involved.
Yeah. For where it is, if you were to like just take that in its own universe, and I think we discussed this before.
Yeah, if it wasn't called Halloween.
Yeah, it was like, okay, because there was some fucked up shit that happened.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you think about it, real fucked up.
Well, some of those, you're seeing kids like being fucked up.
That scene where like when you see what the mask does,
yeah, man,
is real fucked up for sure.
And some like the he said the androids, like those friggin' like paratroopers they had.
That's part of where the movie started to lose me.
Well,
is when there's a fucking robot army like the Foot Clan.
But they're like drilling into their heads and shit. And it was like it got pretty gory at times.
Yeah,
I mean, but really, I thought it was a fun flick. I mean, I enjoyed it.
It is, yeah. Like I think that gets unfairly beat up on. I mean, it has some narrative problems, but I enjoyed it for sure.
And I think the theme song just kind of gets stuck in your head too. Like I said, you can't get that out of your head, man.
Nope.
So yeah, for where it is, it's a fun flick, I think, and yeah, I'm glad you got to see that finally.
Yeah. What do you guys, Chris, Michelle?
It's been so long since I've seen it that I can't even really comment.
Oh,
on
he
it.
likes it.
I watched it a year last Halloween, I think. I was like for real super fucking drunk though. like at a party. And it was one of those party. I'm always the weirdo at the party where they have a movie on, and I'll just fucking watch the movie at the party. And they had it on in the background. And actually, that was the first time I had seen it. And I was like, at first I didn't know it was Halloween. I'm like, is this a for real Halloween movie? Like, and then I was like, I watched the whole thing, and I was like, the fuck, Michael Myers wasn't in that whole thing. Like,
no, nothing to do.
But actually, if
he
it
was
wasn't
on a coffee break,
if it wasn't called Halloween, it's actually a pretty legit, kind of B movie horror movie.
Yeah, it's fun.
The whole concept of that, though, was that John Carpenter wanted to just let Michael be dead after the end of part 2 and make it an anthology series,
which would have been cool.
Yeah, that was what he wanted to do. I think the problem is they didn't market it in a way that conveyed that.
Yeah,
and everybody's always been confused. But like Prince of Darkness was supposed to be Halloween 4, but when Halloween 3 bombed, they just made it its own standalone thing, which I think is good, because Prince of Darkness is really... You know what? There you go. I'll recommend Prince of Darkness. It's better than Halloween 3.
Good boy. Good boy.
What's your suggestion this week, Scott?
Something totally not Halloween, because I've been so busy, and I do have to sit down and start getting into my Halloween thing too. But I started Narcos season 3 this week, which has started out. It started out a little quiet, and now it's amped up into like the 3rd episode. I'm like, oh yeah, this is insane. So
that's funny, because this brings us back around to Atlanta.
Okay,
you remember this?
Yeah,
Michelle,
let's talk about that.
About Narcos.
Narcos?
We're in Atlanta for the Sci-Fi Film Festival.
Yeah.
And our Uber driver, who we realized was trashed halfway back to our hotel.
What?
Yeah. Oh, he was drunk. Oh, yeah.
I would have beaten him up.
Yeah. I just didn't want to say anything, but he what are you guys doing here? In his very heavy Southern accent.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What are you guys doing here?
Sure he was just
we're here for Atlanta Sci-Fi Film Festival, blah, 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 blah. And he started talking about Narcos. And
really?
He was really getting into season 3.
Well, I assure you that I'm totally sober.
He was not.
It's not a prerequisite of watching this series.
He smelled like booze. Like, seriously.
And you guys rode with him?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
the ball's on you guys.
I like to live dangerously.
Yeah. But no, Atlanta was really cool.
See, it's the other way around for me. I'm the one that's just like, blah. That's why I have a Uber, of course.
First day that we were there, we hung out at the Google Fiber Center for a couple hours, and we got a little buzz on.
Yeah.
There was this Old Fort distillery that had this stuff there. What was it called?
I can't remember. It was like some sort of spiked lemonade type thing, but
Lawn dart.
It was all liquor.
Yeah.
That's the reason I'm not allowed to go on these trips.
But it was cool because they had nothing else to drink other than the lawn dart. And it was like alcohol-infused lemonade, but you couldn't taste the alcohol at all.
No, that isn't a recipe
Holy
for disaster
shit.
or anything.
Yeah, I drank dangerous.
Literally, I drank like 8 of them. It was like, I'll keep going.
Because I drank 3 and I was starting to feel pretty good. I was like, I better.
Yeah. I didn't really get buzzed at all, though. But I ate a lot that day.
Yeah, we were eating terrible the entire trip.
Yeah.
basically.
That's what we were talking before the show, because I'm all screwed up tonight for some reason. And Chris is like, we felt the same way when we got back from the festival. So restaurant food does that to you, man.
Saturday, we sat at the college from, 11 in the morning until...
Forever. 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah. We watched short films.
Oh, okay.
And then they showed The Beyond at the end. And they were going to show 2 of the Neil Blomkamp shorts at the end of the night.
Oh,
but
man.
me and Michelle decided to...
Just tired.
Yeah. It was a long day.
So you guys ended up at the Titter.
Yep. Michelle did a strip show for everybody.
Nobody liked it.
I did. I tipped you.
$1.
You got one fan. Yay, Michelle! Yay!
I gave you 25 cents. And then Sunday, we saw the original Blade Runner in IMAX, which was pretty cool. Yeah. It did look fantastic.
Looked really, really good.
Yeah, it was from the 4K restoration, so it looked tits. It was the final cut, too. So
they had that speaking of 4K, they had that. If I'm incorrect on this, please somebody correct me. They did have that 4K viewing of Suspiria this weekend in Royal Oak here in Michigan. I could not go. I planned on going to that.
Where they had at Main Art?
Main Art, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I just couldn't get out there. Plus, it was like a midnight movie. And I'm like, man, I'm by midnight, dude, I'm drunk.
Yeah.
No matter what night of the week, by midnight, I'm hammered. So we can't have that.
Well,
but, so Blade Runner.
Blade Runner was sweet in IMAX. it was definitely worth going again for sure. Next year they're actually talking about doing like multiple events going on at one time, like having different theaters showing different stuff, so it won't just be at the college.
Yeah.
She's talking about having, I can't remember what the name of the site was, but there's like a really cool like art house theater there.
Yeah.
And she's thinking about having it there.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So
That's
instead of just like
very
a
cool.
whole day at one place, kind of switching up venues and whatnot.
Yeah.
So always fun to go somewhere else.
You guys had fun.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
You
So
didn't embarrass us all that bad. It don't sound like. I haven't heard
No.
any things from the
No.
lawyers or anything.
No.
So
nope. Other than Michelle's hooking.
That's how we finance
I was gonna
trips.
say, how else did you pay for the trip? Jeez, oh, Pete, man. So yeah, Blade Runner.
Yes.
Let's just dive right in now. If you guys would indulge me, I want to ask a question about Blade Runner before we dive into this.
Like
Okay.
the first one?
The first
Oh,
one.
okay.
Now, we've all seen the movie. That's a pretty blatant, obvious thing. We've all seen that movie several times, I think.
Indeed.
I remember seeing it when it was first out when I was a kid. We're a little older, right? And I remember enjoying it. I remember really liking it. Saying this is a really cool flick. It's an interesting film. That was with very young eyes. I wasn't looking for all of the meanings and things like that. I was just looking to be entertained.
Mm-hmm.
Blade Runner, over the span of decades now, I've watched it become this very, very deep cult classic now, right? Now, and that's where, and we can debate on this if you guys want, I don't care. That's where I kind of get weird at because, I love the movie. It's a fantastic film. But I never thought of it as like, where some people I've talked to, nobody in this room, of course, but some people I've talked to, they're like, oh, dude, you just don't get it, man. Like The Matrix. We talked about The Matrix. It's like, I'm like, no, The Matrix isn't that amazing to me. And they're like, dude, you just don't understand, man. You just don't understand. You're just not developed enough.
That's because you don't understand.
No, I don't. No,
Why don't you fucking get it, Scott?
No, I get it. No, I do. That's the thing is, I get it. I get it. I just don't. My point is, I haven't with Blade Runner. Let's just say on Blade Runner. I've talked to some people that is like their life. Like this is the most Blade Runner 2049 that just came out is like the biggest time of their life right now. They are so insanely blown away by this. So what I'm curious to hear from you guys is why do we think here, on this podcast that this film, and I really want to be there too. I want to know, right? So why do you guys think that this film really has became what it became? Let's just call it that.
I think the fact that it doesn't lay all its cards on the table is a huge fact in why it's a cult classic. I think it's one of the last real film noir type movies where it kind of plays like the old school detective thing.
Yeah.
But it's set in the future and they don't tell you everything. The original Blade Runner and even the 2049, they're cloaked in a lot of mystery. You're not given so much dialogue and the plot doesn't beat you over the head. You're allowed to watch it and enjoy the actual scenery and the cinematography and the music. You're actually sucked into the world more than you are having a Marvel or a Star Wars movie where the plot just beating you over the fucking head the entire time. Okay. I think that's a lot of it. I think you can literally go and watch these movies and just feel like you're part of that world. And there's a lot of plot going on. Yeah. But again, everything isn't just handed to you.
Yeah, there's a lot of really subtle stuff going on in the original Blade Runner. That a lot of the sort of philosophy of the film kind of goes unsaid or is very much sort of done through subtext.
Yeah.
All the stuff about what does it mean to be human and kind of conditions of personhood and sentience and the way that this society treats replicants as the other
slaves.
They're slaves, and they're sort of made to be dehumanized, this whole built-in idea that they of course they don't have sentience, and seeing that they do, and the whole central tension of the villains, all they want to do is just not die. That's their end game.
They want to survive.
But it doesn't really, like Chris said, it doesn't really go into the themes it doesn't talk a whole lot about the themes at all. It's all just sort of like there in the subtext of dialogue scenes, and it definitely invites multiple viewings, because I think the more you see it, the more you kind of appreciate the deeper layers, and like it's very, very rich with analysis and interpretation.
Michelle.
Yes. You guys kind of covered a lot of the points. Well, I think for one, the reason it's so well loved is Blade Runner commits 100% to the atmosphere that it's creating. It's probably one of the most fully realized universes I've ever seen in a sci-fi film. Every single nook and cranny of this film is like they took a lot of care in depicting it, the way the cities look, the neo-noir style, the neo-techno Tokyo kind of culture clash mixture. Every single movie that's sci-fi pretty much after Blade Runner has been kind of trying to capture the magic that Blade Runner originated. A lot of times people will watch Blade Runner now and they'll have what's the John Carter effect, where Blade Runner is the one that originated so many tropes in sci-fi films that it seems dated to them, like old hat, when really
don't you hate that too?
Yeah, in reality, Blade Runner invented all that stuff. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think a lot of reason why people like it so much is because of Roy Batty's character. Because at first he seems like, when you first watch it, you're just like, he's evil. But then as he develops his character arc is really interesting, because you find out that he's not evil. He just wants to survive by any means necessary. And really, he's one of the good guys of the replicants, because it's not necessarily that he's evil. He's just trying to preserve himself. You know, he's so angry with his situation that he did not choose for himself. He didn't choose to be a replicant, and he didn't choose to only have a 4-year lifespan. And he's angry that he's been forced to live this life. He's mad. And then at the end, you know, and just by the way, for anybody listening to this, we're going to be spoiling this movie, and we're going to be spoiling 2049. Just so you know,
we are.
Well, I mean, we're talking about a movie for 2 hours. We're not. It's kind of silly to not talk about spoilers in it.
That's what I thought. Well, yeah, I figured we were gonna spoil the hell out of Blade Runner.
Oh, well, I mean, okay.
But you're right.
I'm just warning, just in case.
No, that's right.
Yeah,
good
some
idea.
stuff is gonna bleed through no matter what.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
I'm just warning people that are listening.
You're 100% right, Michelle. I agree.
But Roy Batty's monologue at the end is one of the most beautiful ending things I've just ever seen. Like how he's basically a candle that's burning out. So he's burning bright before he dies, and he's just like wet and his boxer's naked, screaming at the void while his light dims out, you know. And right at the end, you know, he could have just let Deckard die, but he doesn't, because he's like, you know what? Why have more death? Why? You know,
well, and I think that was what the turning point was with that character. You know, for a lot of people too, was like, you know, like you said before, like, well, he was perceived as evil, and over time you notice that he really does. He's perceived. You know, it's a different perception. And that final act, that generous act that he committed to, it does. I mean, I just, you know, of course, when I was to prime myself for 2049, of course, I sat down and watched Blade Runner again. I watched the final cut this weekend for the hell of it, and you know, that was one of the things I felt again that I remember feeling when I was younger too, was, oh man, I'm kind of bummed.
Yeah,
guys, he's not that bad. He's just
a tragedy.
He's just a being. He's something that was created, you know, and he became aware of his mortality.
He's realizing he only has, you know, he's at the end of his 4-year cycle. And that's it. But
to get really gooey on this though, and that's where I start getting like, God damn it, okay, because. Well, you know, I don't know if I want to take it there, because it'll just make us burn out. I think.
Let's hear it.
Well, it's just my idea. You know, when you work in technology and things like that, you know, we've seen plenty of films, we've read plenty of books on this subject, and these things become aware. they have this epiphany somewhere, right? Machines seem to always. AI seems to have an epiphany, and then all hell breaks loose, and people start dying. And just from a technology standpoint, it's very simple to build something like that where it just doesn't work that way. I mean, I don't know, I can't tell you all the details of it and whatnot, but it's a very simple thing from a programming standpoint to say, look, this is your function. This is nothing but a machine, dude. You make widgets, and you're going to make widgets for 4 years, and then you're going to stop working, and we're going to build another one, right? Now, granted, that's why this is probably a really shitty point, because that don't make for a good story.
Right.
That don't make for a good story at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, the dork in me, the staunch, tight-necked, IT guy that I am, is always going to be like, dude, my server is not going to eat me. It's not going to get angry and eat me.
Yeah, but it could make your life miserable if it became self-aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also worth pointing out that the replicants aren't robots. Like, they're built from components that are grown. So there's sort of this, like,
hybrid
biosynthetic, like, I mean, maybe you could call them cyborgs, but maybe they're even not that, because like it seems like they're made out of like organic grown pieces. Like the eyes that they grow are actual eyes.
Well, and 2049 shows you that they're like birthed by Jared Leto's character in the movie. They are, for all intents and purposes, humanoids.
It's just fodder I had to throw out there because I'm a total asshole, and I like.
No, but that's part of the theme, though.
No, yeah, it makes
absolutely.
It makes you think about that. It's not a frustrating thing, but it's just something I'm like, I don't know. But still, again, it wouldn't be a compelling story if, well, they died. Everything's cool now. Let's move on to something else, I guess.
Well,
I don't know.
Partnering with that idea, I think it's really cool how 2049 did not repeat anything. Like, it could have been really easy for them to be like, oh, there's replicants on the loose again, and we're sending, Ryan Gosling's character after them. This movie did not go down the sequel path at all. No. This was its own,
very original,
its own story that just exists in the same world, which I really like that, because most sequels, they repeat. They're repetitious. They constantly, again, beat you over the head with the same shit over and over again. This doesn't do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really smart.
I think they did a really good job with the trailers for the most part for 2049, because the movie did not play out. First off, the fact that, and we're getting into spoiler territory, I mean, you cannot tell from the trailer that Kay is a replicant. And and then it's revealed in the first, I'd say, 10 minutes of the film that he's a replicant. I was like, oh shit, they didn't even you didn't get any of that. As soon as he's fighting Batista's character, I'm like, oh, he's a replicant, because that guy's beating the fuck out of him, and he's not.
He's not even budging him.
Yeah. And then I was like, wow, they revealed it immediately. But you can't tell from any of the trailers that he's a replicant.
Yep.
And you can't tell any story beats or anything. It was just like the bare minimum of like, there's a Blade Runner, and there's a Jared Leto's Wallace character, and a little bit of like the scenery and stuff. But I thought
he's a Nexus 8.
Yeah,
correct. He's a Nexus. That's the model.
That's the next one. The ones they make that obey, like basically.
Yeah, he's a Nexus 8.
Yeah.
He's the one that he's self-aware, but he will. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've actually written the program. They've coded it correctly to say, you're not going to kill me now. Leave me alone. So yeah, nothing. Blade Runner 2049, I mean, for one, just to put this out there, and you guys tell me what you guys think too. I mean, it really did lock into the universe. I mean, yeah, it's an autonomous story, but it really felt moved, sounded just like the original, which I loved. I mean, they really matched him up well, which I want to be. I mean, I'm open-minded about anything, right? But going into this, that's one of the things I'm like, look, it's Blade Runner, so I really want, because that's what really, to me, watching it again, like the original Blade Runner over the weekend, just going, okay, I want to pick all these things out now and take them with me into the next film now. Of course, the sound, the way the film sounds, the score, there's nothing like that. I don't think there's ever been a film that sounded that way and moved that way. And, Michelle, you already kind of went into, how it looked, coupled with that backdrop. And I think, just as an observation, 2049 really did carry on that torch, which it should, I think.
The only thing I notice in 2049 is, like, when he's walking the streets, it's much cleaner now than it was 30 years ago. In the original Blade Runner, when he's, like, walking down the street and it's, like, raining out, I mean, everything is covered in shit.
It's garbage.
There's garbage everywhere. It looks a lot dinner. A lot different. What's wrong with me? I'm tired.
Are you hungry?
But yeah. It looks a lot
Thinking
different.
about Ryan Gosling?
Yes.
I'll eat them.
Dinner.
I think, some of that could be attributed to just it's a modern film, but I kind of was thinking, it's 30 years later. They've seemed to have automated things a little bit better. They're kind of in a better place financially somewhat. It's been, because they've remade the next generation of replicants. Mm-hmm. It seems like it's just cleaned up a little bit.
It's like more utopian now.
Well, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah, and they have the replicants on Earth now. In the original, they're
they were off-world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they were there. It was illegal.
Yeah, and I think that juxtaposition that the city is this really nice place in a lot of ways and is much cleaner, but then the outskirts are just a literal fucking wasteland.
It's a wasteland, yeah.
Yeah, like that sort of really harsh class division was really, really interesting.
But it seemed like they probably mined the earth for a lot of resources.
Yeah.
Because Batista's character was growing those worms, right?
Protein farm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it seemed like a lot of the stuff that wasn't in the city was decimated to a degree.
Yeah, because there was some sort of large-scale ecological disaster, they said, after the first one.
The 2022.
Yeah.
Well, that was the revolt or something like that.
That was the blackout thing that they did the anime for.
Okay. Yeah, the movie felt, as far as in regards to the original Blade Runner, it was very, the scenes in the city, I mean, L.A., it was very aggressive. It was very ugly, futuristic, of course, but very ugly. I mean, like I said a second ago, the garbage everywhere. It was a mess, coupled with the backdrop of all these beautiful signs. Like, look how wonderful we are. Oh yeah, you're gonna go off world. It's gonna be totally great. Find a whole new life for yourself. Your life will be awesome. So you have all these beautiful messages in the background, but then you look around and it's just like, it's garbage. It's like, we see it now. So, I mean, the 2049, it seems a lot less aggressive in that standpoint. I mean, as far as how it looks, like you're right. It isn't as dirty. It isn't. And there's a million reasons for that too. But that's a cool observation on, what we saw in 2049. I'm naked. Want to see me dance? I don't know. Yeah.
I think I wanted to talk about a little bit I've been seeing a lot of articles on that people have been saying that Blade Runner 2049 is misogynistic. I've seen at least 4 different articles on this, all written by women. So I feel like I felt shitty. Like I wrote when I reviewed it, I was like, I didn't feel like I thought a lot of the themes actually were quite feminist and there was strong female leads in it.
The best character in the movie is a female.
Yeah, love. Well,
love.
Joy?
Yeah.
Joy.
She is my favorite character in the entire movie. And she is not even a physical being, and she has more depth than Harrison Ford or Ryan Gosling had.
Yeah.
Am I incorrect in that assumption?
No, and the ironic thing about Joy that I think a lot of those reviewers were missing is that they kept focusing on the fact that Joy is a fantasy bot, basically. That an AI that a man, or I guess a woman probably could too. I guess I didn't really think about it. But Agent K has Joy to, he comes home and she's cooking him dinner. Basically, it's like the fantasy woman, subversive, submissive to him and all that. However, the irony kind of comes into the fact that people they think Joy really loves him, but she's an AI. She's still an AI. Even towards the end, you feel sad for her because he puts her in a thing and then it gets smushed and you're like, oh, poor Joy. But the whole point of Joy is that her love is fake.
Right.
Just like Ryan Gosling's character is replacing real love because he's a replicant and they're not allowed to love each other with this fake AI.
She's a product.
And
she's being advertised all over the city.
Yeah.
And she actually gives him a name. She's like, there's names are very important in this. If you have a name, it's like an identity. And she calls him Joe. Yeah. And then he sees the advertising version of her, and that advertisement version calls him Joe. So even that little bit of like, you think she's like, oh, she gave him a name. It's just the name she's programmed to give.
Yeah.
To give her owner. Like, it's every single thing of her love is fake.
See, I completely disagreed with how I read her character, because the way that her emotions do seem very sincere, I thought that what you were supposed to think with her character is more in terms of the idea of what is humanity and what is consciousness, and that she has all the same kind of stuff that he does, but she is an incorporeal entity. Like, she literally is just consciousness, and that it's further kind of breaking down that idea of like, well, do you need like a body that's born to be human, or do you just need like sentience and a soul? And like she sacrifices herself for him and does things that if she was just a product she wouldn't do.
I think part of her programming was that they do whatever the person, they're basically like a yes man to whoever owns them. They fulfill their desires. So she's whatever that she needs to be for her owner. You know what I'm saying?
But then when she says that, she wants to like go into the, like device to go with him, he's saying, no, I don't want you to do that. And she says, no, I want to. And so she's not doing that.
So she's making decisions.
No, she's making, I think she's making decisions on her own, and I think...
So you think she's sentient and she's not just programmed to do that?
Yeah, I think she's definitely sentient, because I think that
I didn't think she was. I still think... I think the whole reveal when you see the ad is that she's basically doing the same thing.
Well, but that moment when he sees that ad is also the moment that he sort of realizes that, oh, well, no, I can be more than just a machine. I can, like, be human and do this thing. So,
well,
like, if that's all that is, like, I don't know. I feel like that kind of defeats that somewhat.
I thought that was, like, they were trying to be, like, dark with it. Like, like... But I always think that always about AI, like, romances, that, it's fake. It's not a real person. You can program something to seem real, and it's not.
But that's what Blade Runner is all about, is the fact that those things that, like, that whole world is built around people thinking exactly that about replicants, because they're fake, so they don't have real emotions. So I think that, that's sort of
couldn't it kind
subverting
of be
that.
Couldn't it be a mixture of both with her, though? Couldn't she be kind of a representation of more like the characters from the first one, where she's slowly becoming more
I think that's
self-aware too?
She becomes. I think that's exactly it. She becomes.
I think the more you
self-aware.
own them, like there's those AIs where like those question asking bots on the internet, and the more questions they ask them, the easier they answer other questions that are given to them. I think it's like that, but more sophisticated.
Well, yeah, but I think there's what you're supposed to think. What I thought anyway is like there's a point where that crosses a boundary of like becoming real sentience. Like that was the whole thing. Like in the original, that's why the replicants had 4-year lifespans, is because after a while they build up
they get so
enough
smart
intelligence that they become truly sentient, and the corporation wanted them to die before they hit that threshold.
Right.
So I think we sort of see her hit that threshold as the film goes on, and I think towards the end, I think she definitely becomes a like real sentient being, and I think that we're supposed to see her as just very much a different side of the same coin as the replicants.
The emotion pulled from that, and I mean, this is going to be great. You guys ever seen the movie Deadly Friend?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
You ever seen Deadly Friend?
I've not.
Put it on your list.
I've never heard of it.
Where she's like the robot that comes home to live with the family.
No. Deadly Friend was, if I'm correct on this, no, this is Deadly Friend. It was the kid had a neighbor. This chick moves in, and she, they become friends.
Yeah. And
they become more than that. And then she has an abusive father who throws her down the stairs and like basically kills her. So the guy's a computer nerd, so he figures out a computer chip to put on her brain. He like takes her body
to bring her back. Yeah.
So the film goes on where she's just this robotic thing, but she has this terror streak in her, right? That's where, people start getting killed and shit like that.
Sweet.
But at the end of the film, and this really fucking bummed me out. It's like one of the most depressing films I've ever seen. Because at the end, they kind of show like her eyes. And like, cause by this time she's killed half the town, right?
Yeah.
But he's like, that's her master, her friend, whatever. And towards the end, you see her eyes, and like before her eyes were like, kind of hazy, computer-like, kind of, whatever, like you're a machine. But towards the end, you start seeing her eyes as she's being chased by the cops and shit. Her eyes start to cut back and forth into like clear vision, like we see as people, right? And at the very end, you see her, go. Oh, I forgot the kid's name now. Let's call him Brian. I'm gonna fuck all this up, but she starts saying she didn't know his name before.
Yeah.
She was just this machine. But at the very end, the end of the film, she's like, Brian? She became self-aware again, right? Like her brain repaired itself because he more or less gave her a Band-Aid, I guess, right?
Right.
And her brain repaired itself, and then she got shot and killed. It fucking bummed me out. It's the same idea here, I think. Not the same, but it's the same thing. And that's how I felt, when I thought about that, was just that, like, we're watching her, she's a fucking machine. But at the end, and look, you guys really got into this good, and I don't even want to try to like fuck with you two on this because I'll get killed. But that was my feeling on that, was like, oh my God, she did become sentient. And that's just my simple opinion on it, right? And then we see, and that's the dragger on that though too, is that last thing she says to him. Or she snuffed out. Same thing as Deadly Friend I was talking about, right?
Well, you can program something to say it loves you.
Well, yeah, but I definitely think you're supposed to at least wonder if it's more than that. Like, in a movie that's all about consciousness and sentience.
I definitely don't think that it's 100% that way or either way, but this is the way I read it because, like, for one thing, like, she's made by the Wallace Corporation, which is
we hope you enjoyed our product.
Leto's character.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to think that, did they make a sentient AI for just girlfriend purposes?
Well,
and she's
I hope so.
She's connected to a server, right?
Yeah.
He has to, like, call her up whenever. And also, I kept wondering, they used a snippet from the song Peter and the Wolf.
Yeah.
I was wondering what
when she went on and off.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what the symbolism was with that.
But so I don't know. I just felt like she was supposed to represent, like, everybody in this world is trying to make connections, but they're substituting technology for people, basically, for like physical connections. And then so she seems real, but he realizes, like, she's just this hologram that he's been chasing. Like, there's a part in the beginning where she's like really intimately about to kiss him, and he pauses her because he gets a call and he just turns her off.
Shit,
yeah.
I mean, obviously she's not. You can't do that to a real person. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like,
yes, you can.
But then he starts to care later. Like, I think what he thinks about her at the beginning, that she, like everything you just said, that's what everybody thinks about replicants. That's what all humans think about replicants. And I think that he sort of realizes that, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
And then also, she's She's not connected to the server once she's on the device. It's like they talk about that. It's like isn't connected to the Wallace Corporation.
Because he, like, downloaded her personality into
There's only one copy
she says, like,
of
no,
her.
you have to take me off the grid or else they'll know where you are.
Yeah. There's only one copy of her, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I mean, even Kay, like, the new replicants are supposed to be tightly safeguarded. They're not supposed to think for themselves. Like, Kate is supposed to not be able to lie.
Yeah.
But he does. And, and, like, the police chief tells him to, like, erase from his memory the fact that the baby was born, which he doesn't. And so I think they really are two sides of the same coin. That, they're both supposed to be non-sentient, fake humans. But I think...
Because Love, they talk about it with Love. Love says, you guys think we can't lie. And then she lies right to her face and then kills her.
And like Love, too, she's programmed to kill people, but she clearly doesn't like it.
Right.
Because she cries every time she kills someone. So I think Joy and Kay and Love are all kind of the same thing like that. Like, everybody thinks that, no, they're not sentient, but they actually are. And I thought Joy kind of complicated that much more by, like the replicants, like even the replicants think to themselves, like, oh, like because we're flesh and blood, and, because as they learn they can reproduce, that's what must make them human.
Kind of like a robotic class system a little bit going on there.
Joy is there to say, like, no, it's not that you're organic, it's that you have consciousness and you can, think in these different ways, and you can, like, sacrifice yourself and, like, do these really human things. So I don't know. That was my take anyway on her character.
You mentioned the character Love, and that we were talking about favorite characters, and that was one of my top. Was Love. I loved that. I loved Love. I just liked her aggressiveness. And and she obviously, like we just said, she was very complicated too.
Yes.
Doing these horrible, unspeakable things. But you could tell that something inside of her, whatever, was drifting her, trying to pull her away from that, and she couldn't. We've seen that. Possessed. She's a robot. It's very complicated to try to go into all that. But I mean, I just love that character. She was, you could see the actual, like, in some, especially with the police chief and stuff like that. Just how aggressive, but at the same time, and that that's what I loved about it. Like, we hope you enjoyed our product. Things like that. You heard those little lines. Like, she is this representative. She's programmed. At the same time, you're seeing these things like the tears, and you're seeing emotion in the face. Which, again, we're talking about. I know we're talking about. These are fucking humans.
Well, she
fucking
to
humans,
me, it seemed like she was less upset about killing humans than she was killing her own kind or having to hurt her own kind. Because, like, there's the part where Wallace, which is, I think, is a really effective scene when they birth a replicant in front of him, and she's barren. Yeah. So he kills her. And I find this parallel between real life and how there are some political ideologies that would like to control how women's bodies, and sometimes they say that if you're a woman and you can't have kids, then you're worthless, basically, as a woman. I'm doing air quotes right here.
Yeah.
I love the idea of Wallace being an evil, like, lawful evil character that is trying to police the bodies of his replicants. And it's such a great scene when Love is standing there and she's weeping as he's killing this replicant. He can't see her at the moment because he doesn't have his little orbs. Yeah. And then as soon as the orbs come out, she, like, quickly composes herself so he can't see that she's affected by it. Yeah. And, like, it's like she's also being, subjugated as well under him. They're basically like slaves, and their entire race is being subjugated, and she's trying to somehow, balance doing what he tells her, but also kind of on the side trying to maybe help out other replicants, because she doesn't kill Kay when they come to get Deckard. She could have killed him, but she spares him.
Yeah, kicks the shit out of him.
But why do you think she spares him? Because he's a replicant, and she doesn't kill her own. I don't remember her killing replicants at all humans. She was, like, air bombing those people. Those were humans.
Yeah.
She kills the lieutenant. That's a human. She spares Kay. I think honestly she hates humans because of what they represent to her, which is slavery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
So I really like that complex idea of her. She seems evil also on the surface, kind of like Roy Batty. However, her entire, race is being enslaved. So you're like she's kind of rebelling, but against the system. But obviously, she's still killing innocent people to get it done. Yeah. But
this is going to be a lot like the first one, where we're going to watch this movie for like 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
And slowly but surely, we're going to be figuring out character motives and noticing things we didn't notice before.
Yeah.
Because we noticed that even when we watched it in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's really not a bad guy. He just wants to live. That's it. Yeah. And I think we're going to get a lot of that from this too.
Another neat little thing I noticed was in the facility where Wallace is, there's only lighting where she walks around because he doesn't need to see. So the lighting only turns on where she's walking. And then usually he's sitting in the dark because like he doesn't need light. So basically all the lighting is just for her to be able to see the walk around. It only lights the parts where she's going. Also, it just looks fucking cool, which I'm sure that's why they did it too. But
yeah, that's true. Though, yeah.
Leto is like such a method actor. Did you know that whenever he was on set, he wore things over his eyes so he couldn't see? He got that deeply into that character that basically anytime he was on set or like, not filming scenes, he kept himself blind the entire time.
Really?
Well,
so
those
he could be a
contacts
character.
look like they're opaque. Those ones he was wearing.
Yeah.
No, I was actually reading about it today. I'm like, that dude is like psychotic in a lot of ways.
Yeah, he honestly kind of bothers me as a person. He seems like probably a really creepy, shitty guy, but he is a really good actor.
I've heard some really, really kind of bad things about him.
Well,
like,
I mean,
really bad
I don't
things.
care if he's just in character mailing your cast members used condoms and dead animals.
Okay,
Is not something
I would
a
like
normal
to.
person does.
I actually read into this because I hate internet rumors. So by used condoms, they weren't like condoms with jizz in them. They were just opened condoms.
Okay.
They were
that's
just.
too bad.
It was just a condom taken out of the wrapper.
What the fuck's the point of that?
But the dead animals are still actual animals that are dead, though.
The dead animal thing.
But
okay.
that's good that he wasn't actually mailing cast
Because
members
I
his
thought that
own
too.
semen.
He's crazy.
I was like, I thought they were like straight up
Yeah.
like semen and condoms used mailing
Yeah.
people, but that I looked into it and they were just like out of the package. They were just like opened
That's
condoms.
less bad. He's
Sack
still.
lunch.
I mean,
He still seems like a creepy dude, though. He's
he
a
is
good actor,
creepy,
though.
but he's hot. He could be creepy by
I
me
mean,
any day.
although, as I'm pretty sure that all of Present Company knows this, but Neander Wallace was written for David Bowie.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been
which-
fantastic.
That would have been fantastic. I mean,
Poor
yeah,
David
Oh,
Bowie.
God.
He's a
yeah.
little underused as a character, I think. He's
He
just-
could have been in there a lot more.
I feel
Yeah.
like he's just kind of. You almost forget about him for a while because basically Love's doing all the dirty work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, and then you come back, you're like, oh yeah, Leto's character was like doing stuff. I felt like you just kind of got put a little sidelined too much, a little bit. Like
Although,
maybe
I
could
mean,
use a little more.
in the original, Tyrell only has
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
scenes.
So maybe they were just kind of trying to like ape that, I suppose.
Well,
but-
it's like it's your classic idea of a leader, the almighty. You're not going to see him that much, and you're going to get this big reveal here and there with this massive character who really is kind of like the puppet master of the whole thing,
Yeah.
right? I think that's just that juxtaposition of that, where you're not seeing him every 2 seconds in the film. You have, like you said, Love acting as the henchwoman in the situation, with this ominous character sitting in the dark with water all around him. Right?
Yeah.
It just adds to the mystery of the character, I think, which I love that part. I think that's very cool. One thing you guys mentioned, it was brought up, and I did want to riff on this. I know we're butting up here.
No, we're good.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I did read also that some people are considering Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049 misogynistic type films. There's misogyny in the. Now, I did see one of my favorite. I'll pimp this guy for a second. It's a YouTube guy I like to watch called the Rageaholic. The guy does movies, music. He does it all. He even gets into political rants. But he's a big Blade Runner fan. It's his favorite movie. So of course, around this time, I'm very interested to hear what he has to say about these films. And one of the things he did talk about was just what we're talking about the original Blade Runner. That, and I forgot her name. I don't want to get in. I don't want to promote her at all. But this woman went and did a whole video on the fact that Blade Runner, the original one, promotes rape culture.
Oh, I know exactly. I've seen a lot of stuff talking about this too.
I'll
The
be
scene
honest.
between Rachel and Deckard.
Yeah.
That scene is really
That
creepy
scene
and
is
really rapey.
I had never
It's
really
rapey.
It is
noticed
really
it quite as bad until
it
we
is.
just saw it, and I was like, wow, that is really kind of.
Well, first off, like, I think people, when you watch a noir movie, and Blade Runner is like neo-noir, right? So you have the tropes from that genre. One of the tropes being usually the protagonist is alpha male. He's usually flawed in some way. So a lot of people don't I don't say a lot of people, but some people don't realize Deckard is not a good person per se. So Deckard is morally ambiguous. Like, he's basically killing things for a living. Like, he kills living beings. The entire point of the first Blade Runner is he has to do the self-examination to come to the realization that replicants are indeed human beings. Yes. Rachel being the catalyst for that realization, and that he's been murdering people, basically. So he has to come to this decision. So Rachel is, as a being, is compromised in the fact that she doesn't know if the decisions she makes are conscious decisions or if they're programmed into her, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when they have that kind of love scene, I'm doing air quotes, love scene, a lot of people, and because he's, first off, Deckard's aggressive with her. But I think what the idea behind the scene, which isn't conveyed well, because I think I read they shot a couple of different versions that didn't make it into the final cut, is that he's trying to elicit an emotional reaction from her to make her make a decision on her own from emotion and not from her programming. He's trying to make her make a human decision, like love, kiss. I want you to kiss me. I want you to touch me.
Well,
I want you.
Yeah.
But the way...
I don't mean to cut you off, but that's interesting.
It just plays weird.
Well,
because he actually does say that to her in the scene.
Well, he says,
if that's
but at the end, she says...
No, it's not.
She says, I want you to touch me on her own without him preloading her.
Yes.
I want you. I want you. But the line, and I think about it, I want you to touch me. She says that on her own. So going on the thread you're talking about, Michelle, he's trying to elicit that response for her to think for herself, basically.
Yes. He's trying to get her to make a human decision.
Yeah.
But two things work against that scene is the aggressiveness of it.
Yeah.
Also, there's it's the 80s, so there's sexy sax in the background. That kind of weird. Yeah. I feel like the intention of the scene was for him to be kind of forcing her to make a decision from emotion. But the way it's portrayed just doesn't convey that very well. And it's also the 80s, so it's just 80s shit because it's an 80s movie, and they weren't so woke. I hate that word, but they weren't, super woke.
They weren't aware of...
You didn't put a hashtag in front of it, Michelle.
Yeah, hashtag woke. But I feel like people really focus on that scene and say the whole Blade Runner movie is just rapey.
It's a fucking 2-hour movie too.
But it's just it's one minute. Problematic, incorrectly conveyed scene in a 2-hour movie that I feel like they weren't sitting there just saying in the script it was Deckard rapes Rachel. I don't think it was like that.
Well, there may be other things too. I mean, when they're describing all the replicants in Blade Runner, there was that scene where they're describing them, and they do describe this is a standard pleasure model.
Mm-hmm.
So
she's a really good. Pris is a really interesting character, though, and I think her whole character is sort of going against that she was basically human trafficked.
Mm-hmm.
That's her backstory, and she has come out of that, and she is this really strong, powerful character who is, up until Roy's last speech at the end, definitely the most sympathetic and most kind of human of the four main replicants.
Yeah.
So I think you're supposed to think that the fact that she was made as a pleasure model is something misogynistic that her character had to rebel against.
Yeah, and overcome.
Yeah, That I think is intentional.
Yeah.
But these are dystopian films, and I've been reading so many articles where I feel like people don't understand what dystopian is. Dystopian is a compromised society that is inherently not progressive. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a way for you to use a futuristic or different style of society to talk about a modern issue, but in a fantasy or sci-fi setting. So if you could talk about slavery and misogyny and gender roles and all that, but it's under the veneer of the cyberpunk genre.
Yeah.
But people don't understand. They're oh, Blade Runner 2049's not progressive enough. It's not fucking supposed to be progressive. It's a dystopian society. Well, it's supposed to be fucked up to illustrate what can happen if you let that kind of thing take over a society.
Yeah, and there's also, I think, the big distinction is that like differentiating between what happens in the world of the film and what the film thinks about it.
Yes.
Which I think like that's the difference between like, you know, like how feminist like say Mad Max Fury Road is compared to like say The Road Warrior, where there's that scene where like that has always really creeped me out, where there's that scene where Max kind of just like sees the woman being raped and doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And like that scene has always just creeped the shit out of me and kind of
it's supposed to,
because he's
supposed to creep
he's an anti-hero.
Like that film seems really apathetic towards that happening. Like it's not thinking about it, and so I think like that kind of bugs me because of that. But then Fury Road really thinks about it and engages with it, and lots of horrible shit happens in it, but you know how the film feels about it, and like, you know, what happens in the world and what the film thinks about it are two clearly different things.
Like
and I think that's
depiction versus endorsement.
Yes, that is that's a really important distinction.
I think Blade Runner 2049 definitely is not endorsing this lifestyle. But you know, the funny thing was when I was watching it, I was thinking about this one part where, spoiler, if anybody's still, you know, caring about that by this point, where
death threats are on the way.
Where Kay makes love to Joy via the other girl's body. They sync with each other. The prostitute.
I thought that was so cool.
Joy, I thought it was like outstanding, interesting sex scene. But it's also like a weird area where it's like like the other I guess I felt bad for the other girl.
Yes, me too.
The prostitute girl. Not that being a prostitute necessarily is bad. Like I don't want to feel like I'm punching down on sex workers or anything like that, because sex work right now is a legitimate, viable way to create income for yourself if it's consensual and you know what you're doing. So that, but I felt like the girl kind of liked Kay, and then she, you know, kind of teamed up with Joy, and it's just weird. It's not bad. It's just like a weird feeling, like her body was just.
Joy even says in the movie, "You like her."
Yeah.
No, that definitely made me a little uncomfortable. That scene too, that like she does like him, and she's clearly an important character, and like she. You know, like she's a really important character, but she is very much literally reduced to an object.
She's reduced literally to genitalia in that part.
Yeah, and so that kind definitely, I was not liking that, and that's the one scene in that movie that I think you could say is maybe kind of misogynistic.
Because I like the idea behind it, though, like the syncing and like I really liked it on paper. But the way, I just felt bad for that. Maybe you're supposed to feel bad for that character too. Maybe the fact that they even have to go to this lengths to like do that kind of thing. Maybe that's just like, you know, a commentary on how that society works.
See, whenever I see things like this, I don't get upset by this. I look at this is a reflection, somewhat a reflection of what's happening in our modern society. You know, she's a hooker. She's basically a hooker.
Yeah.
This stuff happens every day. Like, I don't just look at her as genitalia. Like this is actually, like you said, I mean, she's a sex worker. So she knows what she's doing when she does that. So to me, I'm going like, she's empowered by doing this. She's getting paid to do this. Not really empowered, but she's a sex worker.
Yeah.
And that's what sex workers do. So I didn't really feel like, oh, she's only genitalia. I looked at it as Joy and this character are partnering together to give him what
like
he
a
wants.
like a real threesome,
like a real person.
The way I looked at it was just Joy, and
I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
This is where this whole love thing comes in, though. We were talking about, like, I'll just say it. This was my impression. Joy loved Kay so much, right, that she wanted to be close to him, and she knows that physically she couldn't do that. So the next best thing was to sync up like she did with basically the other replicant, to give him as close to what she'd like to give him. That's kind of how I perceived it. You know, I thought there was and I'm standing by that. I think she may have gotten to a point where she did really love him. as much as love could be in that world.
Yeah.
So that's why she did what she had to do.
Yeah, and I think that was definitely how I took the intention of that scene. Yeah. And I felt like the emotion of the scene was that we were supposed to feel good about the fact that Kay and Joy finally get to consummate their romance, but like the way that
it's
other woman...
It is creepy.
Yeah, it was creepy. And yeah, like you said, Michelle, I felt really bad for her because you could tell she actually did like Kay, and also she's trying to get to Kay to get him to help the revolution.
Right.
And the only way she can... Like, it's a really shitty situation for her. And what kind of made me feel weird about that scene was that I'm not sure that the film realized that it was a shitty situation for her. But I think,
and maybe it was trying to say, like, you know, it's also kind of interesting because all three of them are artificial kind of like beings. So it's like all three of these artificial people like are trying to like just because of the way humans. Basically, because humans are shitty and made them the way they are, they have to go through all this rigmarole to like just love each other, you know, and like, you know, the whole entire movie is about them replicating, you know, and reproducing and it, basically if they reproduce and they can create more, then that, you know, they're on the same level as humans and they're trying to stop that. And it's just that entire thing where, like, you know, they're trying to connect to each other. I think that's what it's trying to say, like all the stuff they have to go through to connect with each other when humans could have just made them like humans, but they didn't, you know.
That is a really interesting take. I like that. And I also will say that, like you were saying about the Rachel scene in the original, that is sort of like the one and I think only kind of problematic or like uncomfortable scene in a movie that I thought otherwise had really strong, really good female characters. And I agree with you, Michelle, that I thought that it was a feminist film. I mean, between everything we've said about Joy and what a complicated, rich character she is, and Love being, you know, not just the sort of, like, she isn't reduced to the femme fatale character. Yeah. She's a really good character. And then Joshi, the Robin Wright character, is really good also. And that, like, at least in the future of Blade Runner, like, you know, this woman in this position of power doesn't seem to have to deal with any misogynistic bullshit from her underlings.
Me and Scott are just flipping each other off.
No, I'm sorry. We didn't mean to kill your momentum there.
The film which I really enjoyed was it subverts the white male hero's journey trope, where my absolute favorite thing in the movie was when Kay finds out that he's not Deckard's kid. What?
Now you just spoiled the whole
movie. We've been talking about this movie for fucking 2 hours. Just put spoilers in the title of the thing. There's going to be spoilers. We're talking about a movie for 2 hours.
Yeah, do not listen. Nobody listen to this show.
Only listen to it if you've seen the movie, because obviously watching a podcast, listening to a podcast about a movie you haven't seen,
listen
stupid.
To the show. No one's allowed to listen to this show.
Well, anyway, I already said it now, so...
I'm pretty sure that we warned people.
Yeah,
I think we're
so, okay, so they subvert the idea of him being the chosen one, and she said, oh, you thought it was you? I was like, oh, shit.
I really like that, too.
It wasn't you, motherfucker.
Yeah, but like that... You know, it served other purposes, too. Like, it did that, and it did that really well, but then that also made him sort of doubt all over again, like, oh, shit, I thought I was human, but now, what, am I not human again? And he has to, like, sort of re-wrestle with, like, oh, no, I still am, because, like, all these, like, internal truths about personhood are still there. It's like did that, but also subverted that trope really, really well.
As soon as they started going down that storyline of him being the child, the chosen one, whatever, I was like, seriously, you're making it this easy? Like, I was really bothered by that the entire movie. I'm watching it going like, you can't do this. We wait 30 years and you're going to make it this easy? Oh, yeah, it's him.
Yeah. You know? That would have been awfully convenient.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was my...
a lesser director might have did that, too.
Yeah. And now, who was I? I was talking to someone recently, I think at work, where this isn't really fleshed out, but somebody pointed out, like, what if... You know, he's not the only one who has those memories. Like, what if the reason why there's this revolution going on is because the memory maker put those memories in all of their heads, and the reason why they all like sort of broke through their conditioning is because they all went through this journey of like,
Decker
am I
says
special?
that.
Am I this chosen one?
Yeah.
Decker says that to Kay at the very end when he goes to meet her, and he says, "Who?" Decker looks at him and says, "Well, who are you to me?"
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you're right on the ticket with that. Okay, I think that is something. It's these shared memories, these shared ideas, shared impressions, right? So that is compelling idea, and I think they didn't flesh it out.
Yeah.
No.
But that idea exists. It's in that universe
seed.
somewhere. Yeah, it's somewhere there, and it may get explored down the road. Who knows?
And Gosling did a really good job, I thought, in this film. Because I really love how, in the beginning he's robotic emotionally, and then when he finds that horse, he just like his face, like holy shit, like all the motion starts rushing to him, and he's coming off his baseline. I love the baseline parts too.
Yeah,
where they would test him.
That was great.
Like I love that in the first movie, the way they tested replicants was like this big, long, arduous process, and they've like basically
streamlined
it down to like these little trigger questions they know they can ask to like gauge them really fast. And I love like, or when he goes to the memory sculptor and he finds out that it's a real memory, and he's just like, God damn it! It's like like you just been waiting for him to like emote the whole movie, and it's so satisfying when he finally has reactions to things.
I still think he should have worn the jacket from Drive for the entire movie.
That's in the director's
he
credit.
had a pretty cool jacket in this movie.
Everybody had cool clothes.
Yeah.
But still, he should have worn the Drive jacket.
Huh?
I said except for Harrison Ford.
Yeah, Harrison Ford is just like, I just bought this outfit from The Gap, so if you guys are making this movie, you're fucking filming me.
He's like, yo, I got this T-shirt on the clearance rack at Meijer. It was like $7.49 with an extra 20% off.
Although, holy shit, Harrison Ford can actually still act.
Yeah, he was
We haven't
good in it,
seen
too.
that quality of acting from him in years.
Yeah, and I like how they didn't overuse him, too. Like, he's in not a lot of the movie, which is good. I thought they were going to be all decorated it up, because remember,
he was
Blade
only in like
Runner's
the last
Deckard?
third of the movie.
Yeah.
Last third, and spotty at best.
Yeah.
He wasn't all over it. So yeah,
I'm just glad they didn't Han Solo him.
Yeah.
Because I really thought that was going to happen. I'm going to be like, 2 movies in a row.
Come on.
Really?
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm starting to drain out here. I apologize, guys.
It's because you just don't get it, Scott.
I know. I just don't get it. I'm just.
Don't
I'm a
understand
lower functioning being. All I'm designed to do is move iron ore on Endor or some shit. All night long. That's
Off-world.
Off-world. Yeah. Well. Yeah.
We still haven't gotten a scene off-world.
I
No.
know.
No.
Well, gee.
I was hoping like we got a little glimpse of it or something in this one, but no. Do you think it exists? Like, what is it?
I think it exists, but I think it's sort of... I think in a way, like, that these movies are so, like, grimy and they're, like, down on, like, the dirt on the ground level that, like... I mean, that it's this whole, like, huge universe, but these characters are very firmly, like, stuck in the slums of L.A.
Yeah.
I think there's something kind of cool about that.
Yeah.
Well, it's also this heavenly idea, too. Like, go to the sky.
Mm-hmm.
You go off-world.
Yeah.
You have a whole new life of... They say a whole new life of fun and adventure.
There's that... They
Right?
use that concept in Battle Angel, Alita. They have, like, I can't remember the name of what they call it, but it's a city in the sky that everybody wants to go to. Everybody lives in the slums, and there's, like, this floating city that everybody tries to get to and can't.
The dangling carrot.
Yeah.
Total
Classic
Recall did it,
dangling
too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Classic
Oh,
dangling carrot.
Get to Mars.
Mm-hmm.
You
Get
son
your
of a
ass to
bitch.
Mars.
Get your ass to Mars now. Do it.
Well, I still don't know what the hell's going on here. I don't understand the film. No, I'm kidding. I understand the fuck out of the movie.
Such a Philistine, Scott.
I mean, it would be cool to see.
Nice.
It would be cool to see Off-World, but I really hope they don't extend this
Let's
out
not turn
into.
no, let's not flesh everything out.
Yeah.
Can we
Yeah.
fucking imagine something?
Yeah, well, so that's another thing that I kind of wanted to mention. It's like now with all this, like, melodramatic, like, oh, it's a bomb, meh. Like, there's all these people like, oh, its franchise hopes are dashed. But, like, I
Good.
thought it felt like another standalone film.
Yeah.
I did not
No,
think...
it wasn't hooked in that
like,
deep.
It doesn't want Blade Runner 3 to exist. It
Yeah.
seems like it's a self-contained thing,
Yeah.
and this is it.
No, it didn't. It didn't leave like wide open, freaking gaping holes. Like, oh shit!
Don't ever say that to me again.
And that it ends on this.
You're bummed. I know.
I mean,
I know.
as long as we're spoiling the shit out of everything. I mean, that it ends on this note of like, will there be a revolution? Won't there be a revolution? Like, it doesn't matter to the story. What matters is that there could be, and there's the possibility that there could be. In much the same way that we don't need to know for sure whether Deckard is actually a replicant or not, although he totally is. But yeah, like, we don't need that answer like spelled out for us.
Shut your dirty whore
And
mouth.
really, even though Kay wasn't the one, he was the one still, because he's the one that got Deckard back to his daughter.
He made a difference.
He still made a difference,
He made a
So
difference.
that's why he died with a smile on his face, like, because he knew he still helped.
And
Yeah.
Sorry.
What is it with like movies with Ryan Gosling just like bleeding out at the end?
Oh, I mean, he gets the shit kicked out of him in this movie. He's like bleeding like half the movie.
Like, that's what
he
happens
gets
in
so
Drive,
beat up.
too.
His whole body, he's
Yeah.
tattered through the whole film. He's covered in blood through the whole damn movie.
Dude, Ryan Gosling is one of the hottest people on this earth. He is
Yes,
so
he is.
fine.
Yeah.
He is just a tasty morsel.
Okay.
Totally. Yeah.
And Leto. Leto's fine, too.
We were talking about that before.
You can keep Leto. I feel like he'd be a creep.
I would be in a Leto Gosling sandwich. I'd be the...
Let's keep
I'd make a reverse Oreo with them.
Michelle
I'll stick with this Gosling.
I'm sorry, but Ana de Armas is gorgeous.
Has she been in other things?
Oh, she's like in like tons of stuff now.
Huh.
She's
really
she made a lot of foreign films, and then she did Knock Knock with Keanu Reeves a couple years ago, which a movie's pretty horrendous, but it like introduced her into U.S. movies, and now she was in that one boxing movie, and then she was in the movie with Jonah Hill about the gun running that was just out last year. I can't.
Yeah, that looked acceptable.
It was a good movie, actually. But yeah, she's in a lot of stuff now. So
she's really good in it.
Yeah.
She's very good.
I like her a lot.
Ryan Gosling to me is just such an interchangeable actor. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get my ass beat for this comment. Well, like between him and Ryan, Ryan Reynolds and people, I just
hate people named Ryan.
Okay, here, there you go.
If your name's Ryan, Scott hates
as
you.
an actor. Okay, I'm gonna go way into the weeds here. But I just...
What about Ryan Felipe?
Fuck him, too. He's a total piece of shit. Fuck that guy.
Has he even been is he alive still? Like, has he been
he's
in anything?
on... he does a TV show.
Oh.
Yeah.
When I look... Okay, when it comes to
I'm dumb tonight. Sorry.
I'm like melting down as we speak, and this is why I'm going to be making some really stupid comments right now. An actor like Kyle MacLachlan, for example, right? I've always looked at him as an actor, and I mean, I've always said he was a very unique-looking man.
Mm-hmm.
He just had a very chiseled face, and I've always been, it's not my thing, but I've been, I've said before, I have plenty of man crushes, and that's one of my man crushes. I'll be open about that. He just has a very distinct look, right? I guess it's because I'm not interested in men to the nth degree that like a person like Ryan Gosling or a person like Ryan Reynolds, and I'm sorry, there's nothing to do with Ryan. It's just I'm throwing them out as examples. They just don't interest me as actors. I mean, now I had to be interested in Blade Runner 2049 because he starred in the fucking thing.
Yeah.
But I said it to Amber last night where I'm like, I don't think he's hot. I don't mean it like that. I just don't find him intriguing.
He's like a really good actor, though.
He's super good. Yeah,
he's
really
low key, is what it is. He's a low key actor.
Yeah,
so,
maybe that's what it is. Maybe he isn't as flamboyant.
Because he's really good in Place Beyond the Pines. He's good in Drive.
He was great in La La Land.
La La Land, Blue Valentine.
Sweet, she fucked up now too. I don't feel so bad anymore.
Slipped.
It took 2 hours. I finally did it.
Yeah.
The Ides of March is another one that I really
I haven't
liked
seen that one.
Oh, it's great.
In fairness, I'm gonna have to give him some more screen time and watch
Yeah.
some of his other stuff.
Yeah, he's a super good actor.
Yeah, and he was great. He really was. He was fantastic in Blade Runner 2049. Oh God, I can't even speak sentences anymore. He really was great. Maybe I do like the more flamboyant actors. I mean, because he is kind of he's a low key actor. He's subtle, and you have to watch. And I did love when he exploded. when he flipped out, I was like, "Oh, dude, that's interesting."
But like that scene wouldn't have had that impact if he hadn't been so
playing it so low the whole time. Yeah. So, all right, fine. He's okay with me. We're cool now. We get it all straight.
Okay.
Thanks for
among the Ryans, I'm glad that he's the one who you can now tolerate.
I will now accept the Ryan contingent. So we're okay with those guys now.
So now, just like they realize that replicants can be human, you realize that some Ryans can be good
some Ryans
and attractive.
All right, let's wrap this shit up.
I can't do anymore.
This is Chris with the Movie Sleuth. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with episode 65 next week, when the entire night will be dedicated to actors named Ryan.
Oh, God. Yes! Oh, my God, I can't wait!
Visit us at www.themoviesleuth.com and find The Movie Sleuth on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and iTunes.